On the bridge between North and South America lies one of the most diverse ecosystems of its size on the planet. Its biodiversity is unparalleled and its beauty is unmatched. Costa Rica is truly a bastion for wildlife like no other.
Hi, I'm Danielle Dufault and you're watching Animalogic. Today, we're in Corcovado National Park in Costa Rica. This park is in the middle of one of the most biologically intense rainforests in the world.
Within a space of about 10 meters, you might see a crocodile, a bull shark, a spider monkey, and a kingfisher. Corcovado is one of the most remote rainforests in Central America. You can only get here by boat or by small plane, and the only roads are the ones built by leafcutter ants. The perkiest residents of the park are the coati. With their tails pointed directly upwards, coatis are easy to spot off in the distance. Unlike their cousins, the raccoons, they are diurnal and spend their days out and about scrounging for food. They use their long and flexible nose to probe around little rocks in search of fruit, grubs, and other insects. Deeper in the jungle live the largest land mammals in Central and South America, the tapir. Measuring up to 2.5 meters long and weighing up to 300 kilograms, tapirs are true giants. Their nose and upper lip combine into a mini trunk that functions much like an elephant's trunk. They have incredibly powerful jaws, and if they bit you, they might take your arm off. If you're thinking that they look like they belong in an Ice Age movie, it's because they do. Tapirs are one of the most primitive large mammals in the world and have remained unchanged for roughly 20 million years. If we're not careful, they won't make it the next 20 million. Endangered, there are less than 6,000 Baird's tapirs left in the wild. Tapirs can eat up to 35 kilograms of food a day, and because of this, they are a critical species for spreading seeds throughout the jungle. Tapirs spend their mornings soaking in mud baths, often with several companions, like the basilisk lizard. But life for a tapir isn't always so relaxing. While being so large means that they have very few predators, their main predators happen to be the second largest land mammal in South and Central America, the jaguar. Hoping to catch the tapir in its morning mud bath, the jaguar silently approaches. But it's not silent enough. The tapir will live to soak another day. Up in the trees, the faces of Corcovado are entirely different.
Perhaps the most charismatic of all Corcovado residents are the monkeys. Capuchin, howler, squirrel monkeys all live here in the tree canopy.
The second largest of these are the spider monkeys. Like many New World monkeys, they have prehensile tails which are very helpful for getting around, especially with a newborn in tow. Spider monkeys get their name from their long and lanky limbs, which may make them look like gangly teenagers, but they make swinging through the trees a breeze, even without opposable thumbs.
The common ancestor to all of these New World monkeys came here from Africa millions of years ago, but nobody knows for sure how. The most accepted theory is that they were transported here on natural rafts after a massive flooding event in Africa.
Despite their strong numbers in the Osa Peninsula, spider monkeys are endangered and every day face increasing threats from deforestation and hunting. Spider monkeys spend their days in large groups, foraging for fruits in the treetops. Their numbers help deter their arboreal predators, like the margay. Margays are incredibly skilled climbers and primarily hunt in the tree canopy. But for the right meal, they will make their way to the jungle floor. In this case, a rat. She puts up a fight. But in the end, is no match for the margay. Monkeys aren't the only ones who find safety in the treetops. Tamanduas are as comfortable in the tree canopy as they are on the ground. They are a type of anteater and spend their days looking for ants above and below. They are excellent climbers. They have a long prehensile tail, which is hairless on the bottom, essentially acting like an extra hand to grab branches with. Though sometimes it's easier to get down just by sliding. They have a long, sticky tongue which they use to pick up ants and termites, sometimes over 9,000 in a single day. Their coat is thick and coarse, and it helps keep ants, termites, and other insects at bay. There's nothing worse than flies biting you while you're trying to nap. Insects or no, his nap is about to be interrupted. A puma lies in wait at the base of the tree. But the tamandua has a trick up his sleeve. When threatened, as a last resort, the tamandua will emit a horrible smell. It works, and the puma skulks off. Closer to the ground, the jungles of Costa Rica are ruled by a wide variety of amphibians and reptiles. But to find them, you'll have to look very closely. Crocodiles, caiman, tree frogs, basilisk lizards, iguanas, and many others call this jungle home. The wildlife found here is denser than any other place on the planet, and it's a fairly recent mix.
4 million years ago, during the Great South American Exchange, the North and South Americas bridged, which created a great exchange of fauna from the north to the south and the south to the north.
This Great American biotic interchange saw North American species like cougars, tapirs, and deer cross over into South America, while South American species like armadillos, tamanduas, and poison dart frogs made their way into Central and North America.
The North American species were much better off,
as many of the species coming from the south were not able to compete with animals in the north occupying similar niches, and were unable to diversify to adapt to this change in territory and climate. The poison dart frog, for example, only made it as far north as Central America. Unlike many other species of frog, poison darts make no effort at all to blend in, and they exhibit some of the most brilliant colors in the animal world. This is called aposematism. They display bright colors to warn predators that they're poisonous. And they're quite poisonous. The golden poison frog has enough poison to kill 10 adult men. But the interesting thing is, they don't make their poison. It comes entirely from their diet, likely from eating fire ants and other insects which themselves ingest plant poisons. Poison darts share the jungle with possibly the most iconic frog in the world, the red-eyed tree frog. Unlike poison darts, red-eyed tree frogs aren't poisonous, despite their bright coloring. When targeted by a predator, they'll flash their bright red eyes at their attacker. This may give the predator some pause, allowing the frog to jump away. This strategy is called startle coloration. Their eyes sit very high up on their heads and are quite huge and bulging. This gives them near 360-degree vision. But they have an extra use. They help with swallowing. Red-eyed tree frogs snag prey with their quick-fire tongues and then swallow them whole. To help push their prey down their throat, their eyes recede, giving their meal an extra push into their bellies. Costa Rica is home to a wide variety of frogs, and one of their local endemic residents is the beautiful blue-sided tree frog. Endangered, they've seen a population decline of 50% since the early 1990s. Their biggest threats are coming from competing invasive fish, the international pet trade, and a fungal disease that prevents them from being able to breathe. Fortunately, due to conservation efforts in Costa Rica, their populations are currently stable. Tree frogs find themselves prey to a lot of different predators. A vine snake spots the tree frog from above. The tree frog is yet unaware. The snake strikes, but she's too loud. The tree frog hears her coming and jumps. Though their jumps don't always go so well. Lucky for the vine snake, their next meal is always right around the corner. Vine snakes aren't the only predators slithering through the jungles of Central America. Much larger and much deadlier, the boa constrictor lies in wait in the dark underbrush for its next meal. Something a bit bigger than a tree frog. A black, spiny-tailed iguana. These lizards live in colonies, dominated by a large male. They spend their days basking in the sunlight, always keeping an eye out for hawks on the hunt. But it's not a hawk that's eyeing this iguana. Sensing the boa, the iguana asserts its dominance by showing off its dewlap. The boa is unperturbed. The iguana tries to lose the boa in the trees, but isn't quick enough.
Okay, right here. Okay, right on the water. Right there.
But such is life in the jungle. Costa Rica is home to an amazing variety of wildlife, but perhaps none are more beautiful than the birds.
Central and South America have a disproportionately large number of avian species. 3,500 out of 10,000 avian species live here.
In Costa Rica alone, you can find 920 different species of bird. That's 10% of the entire world's bird life, found in a country smaller than West Virginia.
Here in Corcovado, you can see birds such as toucans, macaws, and curassows.
Toucans are probably the most iconic of the country's avian residents. Their bills can be 4 times the size of their head, and often as long as their bodies. These long, colorful bills are not only an effective way to attract mates, but they use them to intimidate other birds, grab fruit at the end of branches too weak to support their body weight, and to dig meals out of small crevices. They have incredible control over their beaks, and during mating, they will pass fruit to one another as a form of courtship. Or they'll tap their long bills together. Unfortunately, toucans probably don't follow their noses all that much, as like most birds, they have a very poor sense of smell. Yellow-throated toucans are the largest of the toucans found in Costa Rica, and are known to be bullies. These 2 aracaris are enjoying a meal when the toucan stops by. Down on the jungle floor struts the most stylish bird of Costa Rica, the great curassow. Standing up to 91 centimeters tall, these dapper crassids rock a mohawk of curled feathers. They also have bright yellow bills and long tails to attract potential mates. Vulnerable, great curassows face increasing threats every day from deforestation and from being hunted for food. Their relatives, the crested guans, are usually found in the trees, but this one stalks the jungle floor in search of fallen fruit and insects. Pale-billed woodpeckers are the largest of the 8 woodpeckers found in the Osta Peninsula, and they can be found knocking into trees in search of the larvae of wood-boring beetles. By the shore, herons have to share their territory, not only with kingfishers, but with crocodiles. The little blue heron spends its days stalking small fish and amphibians in the shallows. His patience pays off. Kingfishers employ a similar strategy, but instead of standing in the water, they've mastered the dive. This Amazon kingfisher perches and waits. He sees a fish and dives. He takes into account the refraction of the light in the water and is successful. The fish struggles, but a few smacks take care of that. Jungles of Costa Rica are home to a variety of parrots. And perhaps the most talkative are the yellow-naped parrots. These parrots are particularly famous for their amazing ability to talk and are often kept as pets. As a result, they can make some pretty creepy sounds. Possibly the most beautiful bird in all of Central America is also one of its most elusive, the resplendent quetzal. These beautiful birds go to extremes during courtship. The male will grow gorgeous twin-tail feathers that can be up to 1 meter long. Then, he will hollow out a den in a rotten tree, keeping it as clean as possible with the hopes of attracting his chosen mate. Only time will tell if she agrees to his offer. Rivaling the quetzal for its beauty are Costa Rica's hummingbirds. There are dozens of species of hummingbird found in Costa Rica, and they come in a wide variety of sizes and colors. Many are even iridescent. Hummingbirds can beat their wings up to 200 times a second, and because of this, they can hover in place, and they're the only bird that can fly backwards. They are known as nectivores, as their diet is made up almost entirely of plant nectar. Their hovering allows them to easily collect this nectar, especially from flowers that are too small to support their body weight. Their extreme control of their body movement is also very helpful when avoiding other hummingbirds gathered at a single flower. It's estimated that hummingbirds visit 20 flowers a minute. In order to eat all of this nectar, they have super long, split tongues which are about double the length of their bills. Hummingbirds feed every 10 to 15 minutes, and in a day, they will consume half their body weight in sugar. Their hearts beat around 1,000 times per minute, and due to their high metabolism, if a hummingbird went without food for a few hours, they would die. To make it through the night, they enter a hibernation-like state called torpor, during which their metabolism is lowered significantly, and they don't need as much energy to keep going. Further north, along the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, lies a park filled with a whole host of wildlife. Sloths, monkeys, caiman, land crabs, and tourists. Manuel Antonio National Park. Home to 109 species of mammals, 184 species of birds, and some of the most pristine beaches in Central America, this national park sees a lot of activity from both animals and tourists.
The stars of the park are the sloths.
The three-toed sloth is the slow, grinning species that relies solely on vegetation to survive.
There you are.
The three-toed sloth is the slowest mammal in the world. They spend so much of their lives not moving that algae grows on their coats. This tints their coat green, providing them with camouflage against the green tree canopy that they call home. There are many differences between two- and three-toed sloths, but as their name suggests, two-toed sloths have 2 claws on their forelimbs and 3 toes on their hind limbs.
The two-toed sloth can be surprisingly agile and can zip around quickly if necessary, though they still spend most of their time just slothing around. Though the three-toed sloth may smile more, they're both famous for constantly looking as high as a kite.
Chill out, stay cool, relax, let go. Chill out, stay cool, relax, let go.
Sloths have very long limbs, allowing them to easily grab tree trunks and branches while climbing. They use their incredibly long claws to dig into the bark while they climb. They are so good at hanging onto branches, oftentimes, when they die, they'll remain hanging from the trees. But it's not just their claws. Sloths have highly specialized retractor muscles, which allow them to hang onto trees in increasingly difficult positions with ease. Though they have very little muscle mass, about 30% less than what most mammals have. Sloths spend the majority of their lives in the trees and only really climb down when they need to poop, which they strangely only have to do about once a week. On the ground, sloths lose any agility they had in the trees. In order to get around, they must pull themselves forward with their fore and hind limbs. None of their limbs can support their body weight, and because of this, they are classified as four-armed rather than four-legged animals. Though in water, where they don't need to support their own weight, they are quite adept swimmers. It's just getting out that proves difficult.
Sloths share the jungle with a whole host of other wildlife. 3 species of monkey live here. The howler monkey occupies the upper canopy, while the capuchin and squirrel monkeys live a little lower down.
Howler monkeys Howler monkeys sound like they're the ultimate terror in the jungle. And that's the idea. Yet, in reality, this is far from the case. While howler monkeys are the largest and surliest of the New World monkeys, they aren't particularly confrontational, and their loud, scary call is meant as a warning to other monkeys to stay out. Males are the loudest and have large, specialized throats which contain a large hyoid bone. This helps boost their bark-like call. Being constantly observed by tourists, howlers have developed an interesting strategy for keeping unwanted humans at bay. They pee on them. If you're near a howler monkey, it's probably best not to stand directly under them, unless you don't mind getting wet.
Oh, this one's got a baby. Capuchins have developed a special relationship with humans and have learned that tourists can be an excellent source of food. They have lost their fear of people and are often found raiding unsuspecting beachgoers' bags for food. This can be harmful for monkeys because processed foods can be either toxic or indigestible for them.
When there aren't any tourists around to feed them, capuchins are excellent foragers. Unlike many other New World monkeys, capuchins spend a lot of time on the ground looking for food. And they're quite resourceful. They'll strip bark, they'll use sticks as tools, and they'll even use rocks to break open hard fruit. They even have a few tricks up their sleeves for finding water. Capuchins are considered to be one of the smartest New World monkeys, and they've learned to rub different plants on themselves to keep ticks at bay, and possibly even to treat inflammation. White-headed capuchins live in large troops. A big part of coming of age for juveniles is playing, chasing, and wrestling. And oh, do they play! At Manuel Antonio National Park, a lot of that play involves stealing things from tourists and then chasing each other for the stolen goods.
I've Of course, they tell us not to bring chips in for a reason. Other animals have learned to do the same. Coatis and raccoons have become very bold and can be seen patrolling the beaches in search of snacks.
Raids really show the limits of our bonds with our fellow man, as instead of stopping any of these animals, people tend to prefer getting cute pictures for Instagram. I mean, it makes sense. Costa Rica is home to thousands of different species, many of which are endangered. Despite the surge of deforestation in Central America, over the past 20 years, Costa Rica has actually seen an increase in forest cover across the country. The country has set aside 25% of their land as wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. Costa Ricans are very proud of their wildlife and go to great efforts to conserve it. Conservation centers like Alturas Wildlife Sanctuary and La Paz Waterfall Gardens take in injured wildlife and animals rescued from the exotic pet trade.
Hey, sweetie. This is maximum sloth effort. Their goal is to eventually release them back into the wild, but some animals are too injured or too used to humans to ever return.
Costa Rica remains a bastion for wildlife, providing hope for the future of these endangered species and an inspiration to the rest of us, showing that coexisting with nature is possible.